Hello and welcome to Media Snack, episode 88.
We're going to talk about an A&A survey 1 year after the Transparency Report.
Indeed, yeah, all coming up on Media Snack in just the time it takes to eat a sandwich. So the A&A, the Association of National Advertisers in the US, as we've talked about a lot, last year conducted an investigation into media transparency in the US market. A year later now, a year down the line, we've been talking a little bit about what we think of some of the impacts and change. They actually went back and surveyed a whole bunch of their members just to see what change and progress that they'd made, right, a year later.
I mean, very sensibly, this was a landmark event, right, 12 months ago. And they surveyed 190 members, which, considering that, they've got members that cover all of the big spenders in the US, just to see what reaction they'd had to the findings that had come out in the report. I mean, the biggest headline is that 60% of those surveyed had directly responded to the transparency issues on the back of the report. So they kind of addressed transparency within their contracts, which is fantastic news. I mean, 60% of their members having re-looked at their contracts and the issues around transparency is a massive, massive move forward.
It's brilliant. So it's definitely been the catalyst for change. Everyone was wondering actually what action has been happening. We can only really comment on the stuff that we've been involved in on an individual kind of client basis, or that we know that obviously what we've been involved in. So it's great to get that indication that actually there's been some good scale movement. I think it's interesting that they also asked them kind of what the key areas where there's actually been action, and that has been the primary thing was updating contract terms, which of course the A&A made very easy by giving a template. Second area was to start doing auditing if they hadn't been doing auditing, and the third, really interesting, was changing the way or their approach to programmatic media buying. So those have been the kind of three massive areas of change. And what about the other 40%?
Well, that's the question, right? Why haven't the other 40% of their members reacted to it? I mean, they've obviously read it. Why are they indifferent towards the findings?
Well, so, I mean, the A&A split that out. So that 40%. Half of them just say no, so there's been no action, and then maybe there's a good reason for that, and half of them just say don't know, which sounds a bit weird, but actually I think that's a function of, you might be asking someone in a department within a large organisation, and they may not know if their procurement or their legal team have maybe actioned something, they don't know. So that's understandable. I mean, we'd heard from speaking to the A&A that they were still a little bit surprised when they go out to speak to some members, and their members say, just some members have been saying, "Oh, what transparency report?" And you think, how could you have not? How did you miss that in the last 12 months? But particularly if you're watching Media Snack.
But I think there's always going to be a lag, right? There's always going to be some advertisers that are less, they're less focused on this kind of area. And all it takes is that more prompts. So I think for those A&A members that have read the report that comes out on the back of the survey, perhaps the 40% will somehow react to the fact that they haven't been involved in it any longer. So I think that it's gradually going to get greater and greater traction. But the fact that 60% of their members have made an action and have looked at improving their transparency clauses across different areas of their business is a massive, significant improvement.
Yeah, exactly. So good for those 60%. For the other 40%, get on and read it and have a think about what you're going to do. The one thing that we discussed, which I think will be our question of the day, is will the Department of Justice investigation, which is currently looking at issues around production costs, and there's lots of rumours about that might shift into media. Now, if the Department of Justice start picking up some of the findings of the A&A transparency and really looking into the actual evidence presented, that could trigger, perhaps, or generate wider headlines, I suppose, and then more interest. What do you think?
I think it probably will.
Probably would do. I think we should put it to the test. So question of the day, the poll is actually up there. I know somebody seemed confused that we seem to be pointing up there, maybe at something randomly on the ceiling. But you can get involved with the poll in the top right hand corner. And the question of the day is, will the Department of Justice investigation into production move into media at some point? Yes, no, don't know.
Before we go, let's talk about the event of the year.
The event of the year. So if you've watched the last few weeks, you'll know that we are fast approaching Media Snack 100th episode, and we're going to have a big party in London to celebrate. So we're inviting 100 people. We are sending invites out on Monday. We currently have, how many people have we got? 160. We have 160 people registered, so we've got to do a little bit of cutting. There will be 100 invitations going out on Monday. This is your last chance. If you think you should be invited, please raise your hand, get in contact with us, and hopefully you'll be receiving an invite next week. But that's all for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.
Have a good weekend.
So they looked at 190 members. They said, should we just do this again?
Sorry.
We never agreed what we were going to do. Okay. Which bit do you want to do?